Cheryl Lynch here. I'm going to talk to you today about printing on fabric using your computer, or in other words, you could call it digital printing. And you say, well, why would I want to print on fabric? What would be the point? And could I get that fabric through my printer? So I'm here to share what you could do with it and how to get it through your printer and the specialty fabrics that are made for doing this and how you can use your own fabric. So I have here, I used to do a lot of printing on fabric. This is a piece that I made for my brother's family. And you can see here's a photograph that I printed on fabric. And here's some words that I do. It was done in, it was from Phoenix and it was in 2010. And so it really helps to make a special project very special and personalized. I use digital printing a lot when I do my travel books. This one, I like this page a lot. This was a group tour, and this was everyone on the tour, and that's the photo. And behind the photo, I printed on fabric all about our trip and the words and how I felt about it. So this is just word, and I used Microsoft Word to do that. And I use Microsoft Word to do most of my printing. This is a memorial book I made for my children's wedding, my son's wedding. And in here, I printed on several different kinds of fabric. And I'll show you how to do that too, how you could just put a small piece of fabric through your printer. You don't have to use an 8.5 by 11 inch sheet. This is a bicycle book I made. And let's see what page I'm going to show you. This is a page where I have a photo of me, and then again I have words that I printed on the fabric. And the nice thing with using your computer is that you can use different color inks to print your words. So what else could you use it for? It's a great way to make labels for your quilts. So this is a Mexican style quilt. And so I opened a Word document, I printed the name of my quilt, my name, my address, where I did it, my telephone number, the year it was done, and I just put on an image of a flamenco dancer to kind of make it more, have the theme of a Mexican. And then this is a label I made for a very special quilt of mine that is in memory of my dad, and so I put his face and well, his photo and his face and some words about the quilt. So those are all different ways that you can use printing on fabric. Behind me is a quilt I made to commemorate a whole year of my life, and I'm going to do some close-ups of the different blocks where I use digital printing. This is one of my favorite blocks. It was the week of Passover, and my family loves this chocolate toffee matzah candy that I make for Passover. So I decided to put the recipe on my quilt, so this way we'll never forget it and we'll always be able to find it. And so what I did is I took a photo of a piece of matzah, and then I printed that on fabric and then put the recipe and the title and the photo on top of that. So I used my printer to make everything on that. So I digitally created the fabric for the matzah, I printed the recipe on plain fabric, the title, and the photo. So that's complete digital, and that's a lot of fun to do. I also used digital printing for when we visited Key West during Fantasy Fest. It's a crazy holiday in October, and it's kind of reminiscent of Mardi Gras. So people throw beads, and I wanted to show a balcony of people showing the beads, but I didn't want to recreate all those people, and I really don't know them, but I wanted to put the beads on and people reaching for the beads from the street. So that's why I printed a photo of the people on the balcony, and then I recreated the rest of the balcony and the scene of the hands using fabric. So you see, there's a lot of different ways you can combine digital printing with traditional fabric, or you can use digital printing to create a whole block. One of my favorite things to do is to create a map to detail where I've been in a day or on a trip or wherever I'm going. This happens to be a day that I spent in New York with a group of my quilting friends, and I printed the map in the background. And then what I did is I printed each of the different places we went, and I put those on the map where they were located. So that was a lot of fun to do, and I'll always remember that day with them. These are some of the products that are available for printing on fabric. They're actually pre-treated sheets of fabric that are attached to a matrix that gives them some body so that you can feed them through your inkjet printer. They need that matrix on the back so they're not flippy floppy, and they're treated in different ways. 3 of these you can find at your local big box sewing store, and I've had different experiences with them. Printed Treasures gives a good clear quality print, but it's hard to peel the paper off the back. Although when I was in the store the other day, I noticed they now have stickers on them that say, "Now improved with easy peel paper." Excuse me. These June Taylor sew-in products are very interesting, because if you see, this one says color fast and this one does not. So if you used one that does not say color fast, when you went to wash your project, whether it's a quilt or something that might get washed, your image, your words, or whatever will wash right out. So make sure on the package somewhere it says color fast. I'm not really sure why someone would buy this one, because it's not color fast. My favorite product to use is made by Electric Quilt, and it's EQ Printables. And it has a nice backing that peels off easily. It gives a very nice clear photo. When you buy it, it looks like this. And you can see on the back of it, it's a Mylar sheet. So what you do, let me show you that. Or some kind of thick plastic. I don't know whether it's Mylar or not. Anyway, so you feed it through your printer, and then after you print, you could take off the Mylar sheet. Now, sometimes you don't use the whole sheet to print, like here's my little puppy Bailey, right? So I want to save this, because these sheets can cost upwards of $5 and $6 a piece. So you wouldn't want to just print on this and then throw that away. So because it needs that stiff backing, I would cut this before I removed the sheet. So that often leaves me with lots of bits and pieces. And what I do is I save them in this envelope. So here are all my bits and pieces. And you're going, but Cheryl, how could you put those through the printer? And that's what I'm going to show you, because I am frugal and I don't always need a big sheet. So I just want to print a little one. Here's how I use them, because as I said, you cannot put them through your printer. So what I would first do is print what I want to put on the fabric on a plain sheet of paper. And then I draw an arrow on it so I know how I'm going to put it into the printer. Because some of the printers you put in, it comes out this way, comes out that way. This way, I know I just put that right into the printer like that. Then I take a piece of one of my scraps, and I have a little spray box. Now, these are really cool. You know, they either come like with computer parts or from Amazon. And I will put this into the spray box, and I use either 505 spray adhesive or Aleene's tacky spray, some kind of temporary adhesive. Okay, I'm going to try and get this to stand up. And I just do, let me move this out of the way. Spray, 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 spray. And I take this, after I put it through the printer with the fabric, this is the pre-treated fabric that's spray adhesive onto the piece of paper. Then I can peel this right off. There's what had printed before, and there's my piece of fabric with my word, my photo, whatever I want, printed exactly where I want it on the piece of fabric. And when I do it this way, that plastic backing stays right on the piece of paper. So that's a good way to squeeze every single little bit of fabric out of those pre-treated fabric sheets. All right, so you say, Cheryl, I want to use something other than those pre-treated fabric sheets. Or I want to print today and I don't want to wait to order the fabric sheets, or I don't want to pay for them. What can I do? So there is really two other options. Some people use a product called Bubble Jet Set where you soak your fabric in it, and the printing is supposed to be permanent. I know the only product that prints with permanent ink on fabric is the Epson Dura-Bright ink. And this only works in Epson printers, and you have to make sure that it says Dura-Bright ink. So I'm going to show you how I treat my fabric so that it will feed through the printer. Okay, so if you just have something not that big that you want to print on fabric, and here I have just a gray piece of fabric, and you see this could never go through that printer. It needs some kind of substrate for it to be attached to. So what I do is first I print on the paper just like I did with the little pieces of the pre-treated fabric. Lay this right over, and you can use a light box if you can't see through your fabric. I can see through my fabric. And then I take low-tack tape and tape it down, and then put it through my printer, and there it prints right where I want it to print. So that's good if you just want to use a small piece of fabric to print one word on, or a couple of words. This is how I did those individual strips for the wedding book that I made. Now, if you need to print on the whole sheet of fabric, there are several different ways that people have come up with to print that way. One of them is by using freezer paper, and freezer paper has plastic on one side of it. It's the shiny side. And what I do is I cut a piece that's 8.5 by 11, and I iron it onto the back of a larger piece of fabric. So this is ironed on to the back, and I do that because I want to get a really nice sealed edge around the sides. So by doing that, press, 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 and then I cut it, and then I have an 8.5 by 11 sheet that I can feed through the printer. So sometimes I have good luck with freezer paper, sometimes I don't. It depends on, I don't know what. Today I've had super luck, and I think it might be because it's not that humid and the printer is very sensitive to thickness. Another way that I tried is I put, let's see, I have it here, a very thin fusible interfacing. And I iron that onto the back of the fabric, and then that's stiff enough for that to feed through the printer. And then I end up with my printing on there. So this is just a great way to print on fabric. Not only do you use black, but look, you can use any color that you want. Just like you could print any photos that you want. And it's just a lot of fun. It's a fun way to get your ideas and personalize onto your quilts and onto your fabric. Thanks for taking the time to watch my video. I hope you find it useful, and I hope you find lots of creative ways to print on fabric and make your quilts special and unique to you.